expectations on this team. Have you guys dealt with that at all? And, have you addressed the team with that? Like how you deal with increased expectations going into a very interesting season?
No, I think you guys have heard me say this a few times. It's not really what we're focused on. I mean, that's not a controllable. What other people say and think isn't a controllable, and we're really focused on the things that we can control on a day-to-day basis. And so, as far as that's very kind of them to say. I know that there's always angling too as to why you would say a given team had a good off season or so on and so forth. I mean, I just don't put too much stock into stuff like that. And as far as expectations, I don't know how we could be the most improved team when we haven't played a game. We have a lot to prove to ourselves in terms of our capacity now to apply what we've been working on the last couple of weeks in game situations. So I think you're gonna hear me as a broken record all year talk about focusing on our day to day and on our controllables. And like I said, that's probably one you won't hear me too often acknowledge expectations as being something that we're focused on here.
Totally fair. And as training camp winds down to an end, where do you think the team has improved most from day one? Have they bought into your defensive focus, for example?
Yeah, no question. It's buy-in has not been an issue. Execution is something that takes experience and reps and time. And I think that the biggest part of knowing you can get there is having that buy-in. And I think that that's been uniform all of training camp. We've got a group that really enjoys one another, wants to improve, and really wants to kind of execute the vision that we have for this roster. And so now, it's just a matter of seeing how well we can do that and how quickly we can do that. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's really a matter of when. And, that's something that, again, it goes back to expectations are really tough because, when this team gels and when this team has had time to learn one another and play together, yeah, I think we're going to be pretty good. But, it's really hard to say how long it's going to take for that to happen. It could happen the first game, and it could take a little bit.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Jonathan Lehman.
Hi, Jonathan Lehman with the New York Post. I wanted to ask you, you were hired almost a year and a half ago, and it was going to be the start of moving into a new home, start of a new era of Liberty basketball, and there was really a pin put in that. Now that we are a day before your first true home game, I wanted to hear your thoughts on whether the delay has made that any sweeter, and just your kind of approach to finally kind of launching this Barclays Center era of the New York Liberty.
Yeah, it's hard for me to comment on it because I'm so mired in the nuances of the day-to-day preparation and kind of what we need to do. I haven't taken as much time as I probably would like to really sit down and take in some of those aspects of getting to open up in Barclays. I think that it'll set in when we walk out of the tunnel before the game is when it'll really hit me, and I'll get to have those first few steps of this is really exciting, this is really cool. But for the most part, it's just about preparation. It's just about making sure that I'm not missing anything in terms of what this team needs, what this staff needs. So, I wish I had more to say on that, but I think that's going to be something that I kind of take in for as long as I can, and then it's right back to business.
Thank you.
Jackie Powell.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the COVID protocols and the vaccinations. So I've spoken to a couple of players who have said that they've expressed that, they're waiting for their second shot, but I just wanted to know where the Liberty as a team are when it comes to folks getting vaccinated. And also I wanted to know or get confirmed what the protocols are for when the folks come in from overseas. Like I saw on Instagram, Kia Stokes got in, what's sort of the timeline for when they can join you guys?
It varies based on if they're vaccinated, where they are in the vaccination process. It's a pretty nuanced answer. I think one that Jonathan's probably better suited for.
Okay.
He knows the ins and outs a little bit better. As far as our team, I know that we have almost everybody either vaccinated or in the process of being vaccinated, where they've gotten their first shot. I'm pretty sure uniformly we have that. I know the staff is entirely vaccinated, and as had the post shot time to be fully vaccinated. So, but yeah, as far as the day to day, I know that there's a 2-day rule for people who have been vaccinated in terms of when they come back and needing to have 2 consecutive negative tests, and then I know that there's a 6-day rule for people who are not vaccinated. But I'm pretty sure there's some other little nuances in there that I'm leaving out, and that's why I'm being careful. I know the basics, I know enough, but I'm sure there's stuff I don't know.
I appreciate that. And if I could follow up, with waiving Joyner yesterday, how concerned are you all about the depth in the post, especially because you don't have Natasha, and Kia's going to take some time through the protocol?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about the timing of when and how and who in the waiver process. We do have the capacity to bring in hardship players, and that's a longer conversation as to the rules that all surround that. It's pretty complex. There's a dance that we have to do with salary cap, roster spots, hardship, players coming back from overseas, COVID protocols. I can assure you guys that was not an easy thing to do. Joyner had a really, really good camp. And, I think that it's a matter of time before she's either back with us or she gets picked up full time on another roster, because she's definitely good enough to be a WNBA player. And I'll say that there are a lot of factors that people might not be aware of in terms of, like I said, the dance that we have to do with all of those different concepts that I just alluded to, that made the timing a necessity rather than even an option.
Thanks so much, Coach. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Miles Ehrlich.
Hey, Coach. Yesterday, the team put Asia Durr on the full suspension list with her long haul COVID complications. Have you spoken to her recently, or has she been in the facility at all? And has she been making steady improvement? I also do want to qualify this, because if you don't want to discuss Asia's recovery because this is her story to tell, I totally get that and respect that, and we can move on to something else.
Yeah, I appreciate the caveat. I'll address the basics of kind of where we're at. I completely agree that her journey to health is really her story to tell. I completely agree with that. As far as us in this year, it's really just a matter of, she's not going to be reporting this year. We're most concerned with her doing everything necessary to get healthy and to feel good again. And then the hope is that next season she's good and she's feeling good and ready to go, and she's here in New York with us.
Great, thank you very much. And also, we've asked a lot of players throughout camp about their comfort level adjusting to Brooklyn, but we've hammered you with logistics questions like this. How have you been settling into New York, and have you gotten to explore the city at all?
I appreciate that. As you can imagine, I haven't really, because of COVID protocols, and there's always the possibility that you could be a silent carrier, even though you're vaccinated. And I think that we're still waiting on the science for that. And so as long as we're waiting, I'm kind of trying to play it safe and make sure that I'm not a risk to expose people, even though I'm fully vaccinated. So unfortunately, I've been pretty much locked down at the apartment, but the little bits that I've gotten to experience have been via DoorDash. And I've done a lot of door dashing, more than I probably should. And so, my New York experience has really been relegated to takeout or delivery, rather, restaurant food.
Great. Thanks so much, Coach. We'll have to get you on one of those commercials with Shanae.
Appreciate it.
Danny Barlavi.
Hi, Coach. This is kind of building off of what Jackie, I believe, was asking before. But in terms of the situation with the front court, I was wondering specifically how you're all preparing for matching up with Indiana's front court in those first 2 games.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, in terms of the hardship, we have some help coming in, waiting in the wings to help us with that specific problem. As far as the matchups, this is really going to be a fun test because they have to match up with us, right? It's not just about us having to match up with them. And so the way that we're built is going to compromise what they do. In the same way that the way they're built compromises what we do. And so it's going to be a matter of who executes better in terms of, really playing to their identity. And it's not necessarily the end game. In fact, I think everyone would agree that, if certain things don't go well, that's just us going back to the drawing board and addressing it and seeing different ways, creative ways. But I think for the most part, we're excited about what those matchups look like on our end. So that's the thing that I think often gets lost. And, when you're the team that's going a little smaller, everyone says, what are you going to do about the post? And I don't think enough people say, well, how is that person going to guard this explosive wing on the perimeter? So I think that's something that both sides are thinking about a lot.
Thanks so much.
Got it.
Karina Mustafa.
Hi, Coach. Karina from Venus Sports. Didi was telling us last week that there's hot dog stands on every corner, so hopefully you'll get to experience some of that when you can. But my question was about Natasha Howard and how you plan to incorporate her into the lineup when she's back, especially since she hasn't really been able to participate in training camps since she's been overseas.
Yeah, we would love to have Tosh. It would be really nice. She's a game changer on both ends. And, the incorporation I think will be relatively easy because we don't intentionally, we've tried to scale what we've put in and when we've put it in based on the fact that we do have, unfortunately 3 or 4 of our mainstay players coming in late, some coming in, extremely late, where they won't get any training camp or any time with us prior to games. So, it's going to be a case of us trying to catch her up. We're already trying right now, using Just Play, having her familiar with diagrams and things like that of what we're doing. But really, it's going to be a matter of her finding chemistry with her teammates and them finding chemistry with her. And again, there's really no way to do that besides getting on the court together. And, they're going to get thrown right out into the fire. Shouldn't be any misconception about if Natasha Howard's going to start when she gets here. She is. So it's really just a matter of, how she's feeling body wise. If that starting happens right away, she's got to be healthy and feeling good. And if she needs a little bit of extra rest coming off of a long overseas season, then by all means, we're going to take care of that. But, as soon as she's ready to go, which I think she will be pretty quickly, we want to get her out there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Got it.
We're going to take one more. Danny Thompson.
Coach Danny Thompson with the 3-point conversion. Great to see you as always. Kind of piggybacking off Jackie's question a bit. How hard is it to make these final cuts, knowing that you have players that are not available to start the season, like you said, mentioned Natasha and Kia. How hard is it to make those final cuts? And I don't want to get you in trouble, but is it difficult to put a roster together knowing that you don't have certain players until X date when you start the whole process?
Yeah. The cuts suck, to put it simply and colloquially. They suck. These players, we did not have one player come into this training camp with a negative attitude or, any semblance of laziness or lack of buy-in. Everyone at training camp was fantastic, and every cut is not something we look forward to. So, to answer that first part of the question, it's one of the worst parts of the year. because they've just left it all out on the floor. So as far as the second part, yeah, it's very challenging to not have the full roster, primarily because they don't get to play with one another, you know, and the way that you start off the season, I don't tend to put as much stock into it because I know that sometimes things take time. Some of the best teams ever, you know, have gotten off to slow starts, you know, and some teams that end up not making the playoffs or, you know, get knocked out in the first round, start off 8-0. So it's really about where you end up and not where you start. But that said, I know that a lot of people do put a lot of stock into how the season starts. And I know that, you know, coming off of a 2-win season last year, that there's going to be a lot of hope that, you know, we get out the gates, all pistons firing. And that's a hard thing to do, you know, coming where we have 3 or 4 extremely important players to our team who haven't been here at all yet. And that's just, you know, the reality of things. And there are some teams in the W who are struggling with the same thing. There are other teams who have been very fortunate. They've had their entire group pretty much for all of training camp. And I don't think it's going to be a coincidence that we'll see those teams get out to a fast start. But it's also not to make excuses. And it's also not to say that our team can't come out and be extremely effective early on. I do think they're prepared. I do think they're going to play extremely hard. I feel like we're in a really good place entering the first game, but yeah, those caveats are, you know, it would be disingenuous and short-sighted to not acknowledge them.
Great, thank you, Coach. Next up, we're going to have Sabrina Ionescu. Let's give her a moment to get into the room. Just a reminder to please raise your hands. Jackie Kyle.
Hey, Sabrina, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you. So in the past week or so, we've seen a couple of campaigns. We've seen Asia Wilson appear in a music video with Sweetie, and we've seen you in a Nike campaign with Rosalia. So what I want to know from your perspective, why are these crossovers between sport and music and, you know, especially women in both, why has that become so significant right now?
I mean, sport is a part of culture, and I think we've seen that, especially during the pandemic with viewerships going up, and it's just how it goes. I mean, sport's a big part of everybody's lives, I think, and that's just growing. And so it's really cool to see, you know, Asia and myself and a lot of these other, you know, athletes that are on this platform being able to kind of collaborate and, you know, learn about someone else's art, someone else's craft across, you know, different platforms. And so I was obviously very honored to be able to, you know, take part in that and just learn from a lot of strong women around me.
Great. And to follow up, this is more basketball. So can you talk to us a little bit about how working with Kylie Shook on pick and roll actions has been? I mean, especially since Natasha Howard is still overseas, how have you seen her developed? And are you concerned at all about the lack of depth in the post?
I'm not concerned at all. Kylie's been great. She's just a sponge. She's always wanting to learn and listen, and she helps me a lot. And I'm obviously trying to help her in every way that I can. So just being able to talk to her, you know, kind of tell her what I see, tell her, you know, where I think she could be most effective has been awesome. And obviously played with her last year and was able to start that relationship then. And now seeing how much she's grown from last year, whether it's, you know, off pick and rolls or posts up or just her kind of confidence and her ability to shoot as well, it makes her really tough to guard. And so it's been really cool to see her development and also just how much more development she has and how much she's just going to continue to get better and help our team.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jack Maloney.
Hey Sabrina. I was curious now that you've been able to use it a little bit, just what your first impressions are of the new basketball.
Yeah, they're great. I worked out with it a little bit before getting here, and so I love the basketball. It's really easy to dribble. It feels good in hand, and it has a lot of grip on passing as well. And so I actually really enjoy the new basketball, and I honestly think it's better than the one we played with last.
Danny Thompson.
Sabrina, Danny Thompson with the 3-point conversion. Great to see you as always. Last night we saw you post a picture on Instagram of you being at the Nets game. When you were at the game last night, did you have envisioned yourself of what it's going to be like tomorrow night, playing your first game in Brooklyn, the team's first game in Brooklyn? Does it give you some sort of excitement, or did you have any envision moments when you were at the game last night?
Absolutely. Not having even stepped foot in arena to watch a live game in over a year. So I think honestly, I was just enjoying it as a spectator. And then, of course, thought about the fact that we'd be playing there. We'll have fans, we'll have family in attendance, and kind of just those people that, we can look to, familiar faces, and just know that they're there supporting us and watching us. And that was just so different in the bubble, with a limited amount of people being there and no one in the stands, that even the little things that might not seem, big and important really do make a difference. And so I'm really excited to get out there and start playing, in front of our family, in front of our fans, and starting something special here at Barclays.
And a quick follow-up. Also, there's the ad of you playing tennis as well too, and you tag Naomi Osaka in the actual Instagram. Have you reached out to Naomi to play a quick game of one-on-one, just to see, to match your tennis skills against her?
I don't think I want to. I'm pretty, good friends with Naomi. We had done a campaign with Body Armor together, and so always talking to her and, reaching out, commenting on posts, whatnot. But I've always enjoyed playing tennis. From a young age, I played tennis. And so being able to do the campaign was awesome. I kind of was living out my tennis dreams during that campaign. And then obviously joking around with Naomi. I mean, I would love to learn from her, learn tips that she has, but probably not going to leave basketball and take on tennis.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Yep.
Eric Burke.
Hey, Sabrina, it's nice to see you.
Hi.
Hey, and I just wanted to go really big picture with you as you're on the eve of tip-off tomorrow. What does it mean to you to play again after your ankle injury last season, to be at game speed, and just to be one of 144 people in America who have your job?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't think I would have had this perspective if I hadn't got injured, but I think just being appreciative and so excited to be able to play the game that I love. I think before I would be so nervous about, what I'm expecting out of myself, what everyone else is expecting of, me coming into this league. But I think now, given the injury that I had last season, I really don't care. I don't care about what anyone else thinks I should be doing, what numbers I should be putting up. I think it's more just very appreciative of the fact that I'm able to play the game, that I'm able to recover, from such a serious injury, and be with my team and teammates, and having my family there watching me play what I love. And so I think it's kind of brought a lot more fun back into the game, and I'm so excited to just start playing again.
And you were a very mature person to begin with, but to have a serious ankle injury, to have to watch the game that you love to play, what did that do for you?
It definitely, kind of sparked a fire. I from the time that I got injured to now, I've just been watching games. That's really, kind of been keeping me going, from the NBA to WNBA preseason games to our games in the bowl that were going on last year that I wasn't able to play in. I always think it's beneficial. The more you can watch, the more you learn, even without necessarily being out there and running through the actions. And so I've definitely learned a lot from watching so much basketball and kind of analyzing the game and seeing, what I can do when I get back out there to help this team win.
Thank you.
Erica Ayala.
Thank you. Sabrina, I believe it was Danny that was asking you about your experience going to a Nets game, but I wondered if you could expand upon that a little bit, and just what are some of your impressions of Barclays, since a lot of us haven't been there in a while, at least, and might not get there this season. You guys are kind of our eyes and ears. So how would you describe Barclays, and what can fans expect when they walk?
Yeah, I mean, the arena is beautiful, and I think it's buzzing. I mean, obviously, with the Nets being as good as they are and playing so well, you can definitely kind of feel the energy and the excitement. And especially when they go on runs and James Harden checked into the game, there's definitely some electricity, and it's just fun to be around and to be a fan and to be a part of this organization. And so I'm so excited for fans to get back in and just kind of enjoy basketball and enjoy kind of all the ups and downs and the runs that, we're going to go on and just kind of live a normal life again. And so I think that part's going to be really exciting to just see everyone else, with their families, kids finally being able to watch, not on TV, but in person and see us not only as basketball players, but for our character as well.
And also, I think you've alluded to some family that's coming out. Are they going to be out for tomorrow's game? And do you have an idea of how many games they'll be able to make?
Yeah, my family, my twin brother, my mom and dad are here. My older brother and his wife just had a baby girl. So they're back home. They're going to be watching on TV until we get out to the West Coast because it's kind of a long trip for them. But, my family's going to come anytime they can. The blessing in disguise from work from home right now for my parents. So it's kind of nice. They can bring their stuff out and work from out here. And so they'll be in attendance tomorrow. And then, moving forward, whatever games they can make it to, they will.
Well, thank you for that. And felicidades and congrats to your family.
Thank you.
Chris Sharon.
Hey, Sabrina. Good to see you. Yes Network, Chris Sharon here. Just a couple of things. Number one, what are your expectations for this team this year? And the other thing is, since you were at the Nets game last night, which was a great game with Harden back in the lineup too, by the way, did any of the players see you? Did they tell you they were going to come to watch you as well? Did they say anything to you last night?
No, COVID rules. Probably can't get too close to the players. But of course, I have great relationship with a lot of the players and the coaching staff. So I'm always talking to them, exchanging texts. They're obviously very excited to get into Barclays and watch some of our games. So that's really fun. And then the expectation on the team, I think, we're not really letting any outside expectation get to us. I think it's really how we can get better every single day, how we can mesh as a team. Obviously, there's some new players coming in that are bringing their experience and, what their kind of insight is from coming from winning teams. And then we have some rookies and also players that you can call sophomores, a lot of us that played last year in the bubble and kind of have some of that experience under our belt. So I think it's a great mix of both. And obviously, experience is always a good thing. And so I think it's going to help us this year.
Thanks, Sabrina. Can't wait till tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'm going to take one last question. Tarika Foster Brasby.
Hey Sabrina, how you doing? It's Tarika, ESPN Radio. You kind of touched on this a little bit, and I'm just wondering if you can just expand on it just a little bit more. When we talk about pressure, understanding what happened last year, understanding that there are the expectations that you just mentioned for this team, but is there any individual pressure that maybe you're having for yourself, any expectations that you are personally having that that you need to channel through for what it is that you want to accomplish this particular season?
Yeah, I think early on, especially right when I first got hurt, those thoughts come in your head is if am I ever going to get healthy? Am I going to be, the same player that I was before? And I think it kind of came to me quick. It's like, no, I'm not going to be the same player that I was before. I'm going to be better. And so I think, early on, it was like, I'm not going to let this, dictate the pressure that I put on myself or dictate my future. I'm going to take control of it and find a way to get better from it. And so that's what I've been doing, whether it's been taking care of my body, figuring out what works for me, how I can stay healthy, but also on the court as well, figuring out ways to continue to get better and improve as a player and not let an injury like this stop me from that.
Thanks so much, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sabrina. And thanks everyone for joining today. If I didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry. I'm sure you'll be talking to Sabrina in the next day or so. Please continue to join our media avail and hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much.